The hottest girl in school just took the class weirdo to the sketchiest place imaginable, and Marin begged him to grant her secret wish because, if not, her biggest dream will be crushed forever, and his dark secret will be leaked to everyone. This guy you're looking at is Gojo. He's a total loner who avoids any human contact to focus on a very niche hobby, making outfits for these Japanese dolls called Hina. The guy lives in a bubble, traumatized because, when he was a kid, a childhood friend called him a creep for liking girly things, aka dolls. That trauma hit so hard that he grew up as a lonely loser, unable to make a single friend, living in a constant nightmare of extreme insecurity. So, he spends class spacing out, thinking about how his passion for dolls isolates him from the rest of the world, since he spends all his free time on them. But his routine gets flipped upside down when Marin, who is easily the most popular and wanted blonde in the entire school, literally flies over and bangs her head on his desk. Gojo totally freezes up just from her talking to him, because Marin is on another level, and she apologizes for the whole mess. Things got wild when Gojo saw Marin shut down a guy who tried to hit on her and mocked her for liking anime. She showed zero mercy and called the guy a loser. She makes it clear she can't stand people who make fun of other people's interests, and Gojo, listening from a distance, feels totally seen in that moment. He starts admiring how lucky she is to have people who accept her, unlike him. After class, while Gojo was cleaning the room alone, because everyone else vanished, Marin shows up to help. She's visibly annoyed that the group dumped the work on him and gives him a lecture, saying he can't let people walk all over him and needs to speak his mind. A few days later, Gojo is there sewing, still thinking about what she said. When his sewing machine craps out, he has no choice but to take one of his dolls to school to use the home EC room's machine after hours. He thought he was alone, but Marin walks in, and the jump scare is so bad he almost drops the doll on the floor. Gojo readies himself to be completely humiliated, but to his shock, Marin was actually amazed that he knows how to sew. She even compliments the doll, saying it's beautiful, and Gojo nearly faints since nobody had ever said anything good about what he likes. Marin keeps it real. She asks for his help, starts unbuttoning her uniform, tells Gojo to turn around, and introduces herself in a basic black dress she tried to make herself. She shows a reference photo and explains she's trying to cosplay. Gojo, who is a master at this, can't help himself and drops a brutal critique, saying her design is absolute trash. But then Marin starts crying, and he panics, apologizing on his knees. But she explains she's not mad. That dress was just her way of showing love for the character, and she asks if Gojo can help her make the cosplays. Moved by her passion and remembering how she defends everyone's hobbies, Gojo accepts the challenge. Except there's one tiny detail. The character she wants is Shizuku, a girl from a game where the girls are finished off, let's say, by guys, and make some very specific noises, if you catch my drift. Marin confirms, with all the pride in the world, that she's a degenerate addicted to dating sims where the stepmom gets passed around. Gojo is totally lost, but Marin drops a truth bomb. It doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl, all that matters is enjoying what you like behind closed doors. This hits Gojo right in the heart, reminding him of his childhood trauma, and he decides to go all in on this project. The next day, Marin just casually shows up at Gojo's house. She says she Googled his name and camped out in the bushes all night to find out where he lived, which is actually kinda psychotic, but she distracts him with a cake and walks in like she owns the place. The heat turns up and they go to his room to take measurements. Marin, wasting zero time, strips down to her bikini, saying the instruction book said to measure over underwear. Gojo goes into total system failure, turning red as a tomato, trying to keep his hands steady so he doesn't accidentally touch anything. The situation only gets worse. He panics when she suddenly opens her eyes, gets totally lost staring at her curves, and almost dies of embarrassment. To top it off, she jumps on his bed so he can measure her feet, and Gojo panics, warning her she's sitting right on top of his discarded descendants. But she doesn't even care, and settles in further. When it's time to measure the bust, he has to get so close he can hear her heart beating. To keep from losing control, the guy starts imagining the most bizarre and ugliest things in the world to cool off. In the end, Marin even laughs at him and blurts out that her bust point measurement is 7 inches, sending Gojo's imagination to dangerous places. When he goes to measure her inner thigh, his hand lightly brushes against Marin, making her let out a soft little moan, feeling a tingle down there. After surviving that ordeal, Gojo finally asks for the visual references from the game to start the dress design. Marin hands over the CDs, and Gojo begins his heavy research into the spicy game. At night, Gojo even dreams about Marin, begging him to do some pretty indecent things. He wakes up sweaty, full of guilt and regret for what happened in the dream. The poor guy even tells the Hina doll not to look while he handles the situation. At school, he panics and can't even look Marin in the eye. While he's spiraling, she just appears in the hallway being a popular goddess as always. Gojo just remembers her in the bikini and fights to keep his senses in check. She comes over all friendly, thanking him for the help, acting like everything is normal. Her friends even pop up out of nowhere and start talking to Gojo. But when Marin gets closer and touches his arm, things start to feel a bit different. The friends notice a weird vibe and decide to bounce to class. He breathes a sigh of relief, but hears people gossiping about whether she'd date an ugly guy like him. In class, he pretends to be busy and dodges Marin as fast as he can. The blonde tries to talk to him all day, but Gojo keeps ducking her. When he tries to escape school, she corners him and invites him to go shopping. Scared of being judged by others, Gojo refuses and runs off again. He hides behind a fence, but Marin appears right next to him. She tells him to stop running, and Gojo explains he's scared of the rumors. Marin just laughs and says they're already friends and there's no hiding it. She doesn't give a damn about gossip and drags the poor guy straight to a cosplay shop. There, he shows the insane sketches he made, leaving Marin totally impressed. They decide what to buy, and Gojo takes charge of the dress fabrics. Marin suggests something shiny, but he explains the material needs to be thick. Then, at the checkout, he realizes he's out of cash, but she pulls out an envelope. Marin covers everything, and they head off to pick the perfect wig for Shizuku. Gojo picks a deep purple, and she's blown away by how much he knows about this stuff. She admits she always messes up on her own and is happy he's around. And Gojo's heart even warms up, feeling like he's actually being useful by helping someone for real. Except the next step is a lingerie shop to buy garters and stockings. Gojo is terrified, but Marin says couples always shop there. She even teases him by showing off the garter, and he begs her to stop riling him up. Later, at a restaurant, Gojo talks loudly about the spicy scenes in the game, and the whole place stares at him like he's a pervert. Ignoring the embarrassment, he learns about cosplay events and online photos. She shows him Sejuna, a famous cosplayer who never shows up to real-life events. Marin asks if he doesn't like real girls, and he gets honest. Gojo only uses the word beautiful for things he truly thinks are special to him. While she's there devouring a snack, he tries to pay her back for the earlier ramen. She refuses and says she's just happy he played the game so attentively. Marin tries to give him a bite of her snack, but the guy fears the indirect kiss. Then comes the bombshell. The next event is in 2 weeks, and time is flying for him to finish this cosplay. Gojo goes home focused, but his grandpa sees the stockings and passes out from shock. The old man goes to the hospital and needs 2 weeks of total rest. To make matters worse, Gojo finds out he has midterms next week. He still agrees to do a tour at the doll shop and ends up with 0 time. The guy becomes a wreck, not sleeping, avoiding Marin out of pure exhaustion. That's when she goes to his house, sees everything dark, and goes back to eat a lonely cup of noodles at her place. Things keep escalating at Gojo's house, with everything messy and him slumped on the floor, totally drained. He just couldn't sleep, and the dress was still nowhere near finished. At that moment, he remembered his grandpa saying that skipping a single day of practice makes you rusty, and then a doubt popped into his head. Did he really have what it takes to be a Hina doll master? The bad childhood memories came back, and Gojo just broke down in tears. But remembering his grandpa's love and the happy customers gave him the strength he needed. Thinking about Marin's smile made him tie his headband and get back to work. And wouldn't you know it, he managed to finish the dress right the day before the event. Marin was in shock, but revealed she hadn't even picked an event yet. She started crying, realizing how much he sacrificed for her in silence. Both apologized for not talking about how heavy the routine was. Gojo insisted she try on the outfit right away, even though he was totally spent. He really wanted to see it. She promised to rock the dress with everything she had, and they moved on to makeup. While he was fixing the fake lashes, she even joked, asking if they were from an ex. He explained that Hina dolls need way more care than people think. Gojo excitedly told her that you can tell who made a doll just by the eyebrows. He confessed his dream of being as good as his grandpa, and Marin gave him that support. Her smile made his heart do that classic, "I'm in love" skip. Marin went to change, and when she appeared, she was Shizuku in real life, identical to the game. Gojo was drooling and said she looked perfect, making the blonde's dream come true. She mentioned the dress was limiting her arms a bit, and he realized he forgot about mobility. But she didn't even care. She was actually shocked by the physics of a specific part of the outfit and the skirt length. She begged for photos and he started clicking, but he thought it looked like just a regular costume. So he suggested she strike poses that matched the character's dark vibe. Marin tried the tough face but couldn't stop laughing from how happy she was. When she finally focused, the result was so insane that even Gojo was surprised. She posted everything right away and already invited the guy to go to the official event the next day. Arriving there, Marin went crazy seeing so many incredible cosplays she was a fan of, but Gojo was all stiff, thinking everyone was judging him. Marin even tried to cheer him up, dragging the poor guy to the middle of the main square. A photographer recognized her instantly, and Marin activated Shizuku mode in a heartbeat. She even took a selfie with the guy and left him reeling from how close she was. Soon, a line formed wanting tons of photos of her elite cosplay. Gojo watched from afar and realized everyone there was free. He felt proud, but then a sadness hit him, thinking their time was going to end. He thought that, with the promise kept, Marin wouldn't have any reason to hang out with him anymore. He stood there looking back at the moments they spent, like her in his room for the first time. Suddenly, she appears at his side and confesses that the costume is about to explode. Marin used 2 bras for volume, and they were basically screaming for help, if you catch my drift. To make things worse, the thick fabric Gojo chose was cooking her alive. They escaped to a stairwell so she could cool down, and he helped her with a towel. She took off her tie and Gojo had to look away so he wouldn't lose his mind. Following internet tips, she asked him to unzip her a bit to let it breathe. Gojo froze but unzipped it, and she let out those noises of pure relief. Gojo even had to dry her back and told her to keep it down so people wouldn't get the wrong idea from the sounds of relief she was making. After some extra photos with the wind hitting the skirt, they caught the train. Marin, wasting 0 time, already asked what the next cosplay he'd make would be, and Gojo smiled in relief. He was tired, but before passing out, he looked at her and said she was beautiful. Marin froze, remembering that he only calls beautiful what is truly special. Her face turns into a tomato while the guy sleeps like an angel next to her. The two then go to Gojo's house, and she offers to wash the cosplay wig. He reads the instructions, and Marin realizes the whole thing is easier than it seemed. But right there, she looks at him, and the vibe changes a bit. She starts seeing Gojo in a different light now. Meanwhile, cousin Miori is bringing Grandpa back home after his scare. She's joking with the guy, saying it's normal for teens to use stockings for more manual business. And then, when Grandpa walks in, the first shock is seeing his grandson holding a short dress. He immediately panics, thinking the walls were repainted white in his absence. After the shout, Gojo simply explains nothing weird happened, and Grandpa calms down. He even praises his grandson's work, but Gojo says there's still a lot to improve. Marin stands there watching the two of them, and it clicks. She's in love with Gojo, and she starts imagining the future she wants with him, and him being the father of her kids. In the middle of this romantic daydream, her stomach lets out a growl to break the ice. Grandpa invites her to dinner, and Marin devours his food like it's the last meal on Earth. He explains he learned to cook because he lost his parents and was raised by his grandpa. Marin reveals she's in the same boat since her mom passed away, and her dad is also far away. Gojo's grandpa asks if she's eating well, and Marin shows a photo of a bizarre dish. It was a mountain of unhealthy food that leaves Gojo traumatized just looking at it. She says she compensates with milk and yogurt, but Grandpa insists she has dinner there more often. When it's time to go, Gojo walks her to the station, and there's that vibe. On the train, Marin can't sit still thinking about what Gojo said to his grandpa, and she starts imagining in her head what would happen if he actually did something more. The next day, a girl shows up at Gojo's grandpa's shop escaping the rain, and he lets her in. Gojo gets home from school, and Grandpa tells him there's a friend waiting for him inside. He's confused since Marin is at work, and he has no other friends. Thinking it's a robbery and they'd tricked his grandpa, he goes into combat mode and invades the bathroom, where he finds the girl with nothing on. She ends up slipping and shows way more than she should to Gojo. After the scare, the stranger introduces herself as Sajuna and reveals she's older than him, and she wants to know if he makes costumes, but Gojo thinks it's about the dolls. When he takes her to see the dolls, the girl is totally confused about what's going on. Then she shows a photo of Marin and says she wants an epic cosplay made by him too. and to convince him, she threatens to report him for seeing her naked in the bath. Then Gojo realizes she's the famous Juju that Marin admired so much at events. He sends a message letting Marin know, and she appears instantly at his house, going into full fangirl mode. Marin drops a million compliments, and the girl gets scared by so much excitement. The famous Juju asks for a cosplay of Shin, a magical girl anime character. Marin explains she'd never do that character because she basically doesn't have the body for it. But hearing that, Sejuna gains massive respect for Marin, and even apologizes. They then agree to split the rent on a studio, and Gojo will help with the makeup. Gojo's grandpa appears and notices his features have softened because of Marin. He gives some advice. Don't just focus on dolls if you want to be an elite artisan. Following the tip, Gojo goes to Marin's apartment and she answers in pajamas. And that's when he gets hypnotized by what he's seeing and almost forgets how to breathe. She realizes the guy she likes is seeing her all messy and slams the door in his face, running to get ready as fast as possible. And not only is she going to run, but you can also run to hit that like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next things coming up, man. Deal? Gojo finally entered Marin's apartment carrying a little piece of pudding, but he's so nervous he almost faints on the way. He had never set foot in a friend's house before, and a girl's at that, and the pressure finally peaked. The poor guy's initial plan was just to grab the DVDs and get out of there as fast as he could, but Marin convinces him to watch a few episodes right there in her room. Her room is stuffed with Shizuku stuff, which weirdly helped calm his nerves. While the story unfolds, he takes down every technical detail while she gets hyped about the characters. In the middle of all that, a strong feeling hits that. It feels like a romantic home date. Marin finally realizes they're alone and starts melting when she looks at his cute, dorky way. She realizes at that exact moment that she's completely in love with Gojo, our bland protagonist. Except, right in the middle of this total romance vibe, her stomach decides to let out a scream of hunger. Gojo even offers to go get something outside, but she insists she'll cook for him. He's already worried about his own arterial health, remembering the junk she used to eat. But then she puts on the apron and forgets the crucial detail that she's not wearing a bra underneath. She even tries to pretend she didn't notice anything, but it's obvious he caught the situation instantly. She decides to make a top-tier omelet for him, and, to everyone's surprise, the flavor turns out great. The only problem is that the dish's visual looked like a total disaster. She's dying of shame over the look, but Gojo tries it and guarantees the food is delicious. After that, they finish watching the episodes, and Gojo gets moved by the ending and starts crying non-stop. Later, he calls Sejuna to discuss the technical details of the new costume design. The veteran is impressed by the level of detail and depth the guy included in the project. Gojo also takes the chance to ask how she changes her eyelids in photos, and she shows a trick with tape. She demonstrates via video how she uses the sticker to adjust the eye shape in front of the camera. Sejuna goes into a state of shock, discovering that Marin's dress was the first one he ever made. And in the end, she even suggests using an elite camera and introduces her little sister, a girl named Shinju. The group meets at a family restaurant to meet the little sister in person. Gojo is shocked to notice that Juju's sister is very tall and has very advanced body graphics for her age. Marin is fascinated by the photos she takes and posts on her sister's profile. She then explains the control a professional camera offers over light and the scene. However, Gojo almost has a heart attack searching the internet for the real price of such equipment. But this vibe of discovery sets the initial tone for his next steps with Marin. On the weekend, they visit a studio set up in an abandoned hospital, which is pretty creepy. Marin and Shinju go in excited, but Sejuna is visibly terrified of the place. Gojo notices the dark environment matches the anime vibe, but notes the veteran froze at the door. He then asks if she feels uncomfortable because she's clearly not okay, but she holds it together and moves forward while the sister starts a lesson on camera settings. And so, even with the fear present, the technical work advances inside the dark rooms of the place. The group seeks to capture the melancholic essence the project demands at that moment. The weather changes, and suddenly, a heavy rain forces everyone to speed up the photo process. Gojo finds Sejuna huddled in a corner and realizes she's going beyond her limit. Maybe out of fear and seeking comfort, she actually opens up and reveals her dream was always to be a real, magical girl. Cosplay was the only way she found to make those big childhood dreams come true. She confesses she chose Gojo because of the high quality of Marin's costumes. Her vulnerability touches the boy in a deep and real way. The sound of the rain outside only intensifies the emotional weight of that unexpected confession. Hearing the heart-to-heart, Gojo remembers his Hina dolls and can't hold back the tears. He thanks her for the motivation and promises to give his best in this new cosplay project. As he holds her hand to thank her, the girl faints from pure nervousness. Days later, after final exams, Marin drags him to enjoy a day at the beach. Gojo thought it would be a photo shoot, but she just wanted to enjoy the summer. It was time to relax after so much pressure accumulated from studies and work. On the sand, a bird attacks and steals the food in Marin's hand while they were trying to eat. Gojo, without thinking much, throws some fries into the air to try and distract the bird and save the rest of the lunch. They manage to protect the last burger like a treasure and decide to split the food. Marin offers a sip of her bubble tea, but Gojo totally freezes at the moment. He turns down the invitation to avoid that indirect kiss that scares his otaku side so much. The vibe of friendship and fun starts to take on slightly more intimate contours, and, even with small setbacks, the day at the beach becomes a very special memory. After a while, Marin decides to go into the sea to refresh her feet in the water. In the excitement, she ends up letting a bit too much of her summer look slip. She calls Gojo, who goes over all dressed up and goes into shock feeling the wet sand. He confesses then that it's the first time he's been to the sea due to the total dedication he has to dolls. Gojo admits he now understands why his grandpa wanted him to see the world outside. Marin, moved by his honesty, promises they'll go on new trips, for sure. The ocean, previously unknown, now represents a new horizon for this young artist. Marin then, flipping out with joy on her own, runs to get a drink for the two of them. She watches Gojo admiring the waves and thinks the guy is extremely attractive right there. Marin takes a photo of the moment, but gravity makes Gojo fall face first into the ocean. Days later, in his room, Marin lifts her skirt and leaves the kid in total panic. She explains it's just a bikini and complains he ignored the photo she sent. Gojo stays silent and asks for a moment to calm down, while she teases him for visibly being in the mood. He already tells her not to touch him, and soon they go back to work on the cosplay. Sejuna tried on her outfit and is impressed by the immense talent Gojo has. He then shows the tape trick to Marin, who gets enthusiastic about learning something new. And despite the rain that was happening, the girls take photos together and post them straight to social media. Gojo then calls Shinju aside and asks if she would also, by any chance, like to do cosplay. She admits she wants to try a character, Sama, but fears her body will ruin everything. But Gojo encourages her, saying cosplay is a space for everyone to be free and happy, doing what they want. Except the problem clearly arises from, let's say, the volume. It's kinda hard to hide in the suit. In the test with Gojo's uniform, the button flies off because of the body pressure. He even suggests binding, but the curves don't cooperate with a simple wrap. Gojo then researches and finds a cheap chest binder, and finally solves the issue. He takes the girl's measurements in a slightly awkward vibe, but focused on the transformation. Days later, they finish the wig and makeup for the big moment in the studio. Gojo's technical dedication, once again, overcomes the character's physical challenges. During the work, he admits the nervousness and talks about a person he admires. He says this person seems perfect, but faces daily struggles and is very, very adorable. Shinju gets the message and everyone is stunned by the makeup result. Sejuna thanks Gojo for the support and promises to pay for the costs he took on. She feels like she's failing her sister, but Gojo comforts her with his usual kindness. Marin, upon finding out they were alone in the room, freezes out of pure jealousy and nervousness. And she realizes the rival has much bigger graphics, and her heart sinks. Vacation arrives and the new plan is a cosplay of Veronica, a tanned character. Gojo focuses on how to recreate a tanned look while Marin appears already with the foundation. She applied the product to her whole body to look identical to the character they watched. After a shower, she wears Gojo's clothes and smells like his soap. The kid panics seeing her wearing his favorite clothes with such naturalness. She shows off the makeup, and he makes some improvised vampire teeth with some fake nails. But the moment Marin lifts her shirt to apply the foundation, he gets a front row seat to the show. Gojo sees things he should never have seen, and turns red as a tomato right then and there. Marin even thinks he's hot for some reason and runs to get water but ends up taking a huge fall. Later, they go out shopping together and go to a manga cafe, planning a succubus cosplay in a hotel. Entering the place, Gojo realizes it's no ordinary hotel, and his mind goes wild. There, the heat turns up with the sounds from the next room, and Marin dressed as a succubus. The session starts with Marin on the bed eating chocolates, but she ends up devouring the whole stash. For the final photo, Gojo suggests a protagonist's perspective and lies on the bed for her to climb on top. Marin worries if her weight will crush the poor guy, but he guarantees he can take the load. But when she climbs up, the noises from the room next door remind them both of where they actually are. The vibe starts to get heavy, and Gojo tries to escape the contact, but the two end up tangled in the dark. Except the phone rings, warning that time is up right when this plot was about to advance. A few days later, Marin sends an SOS saying her dad canceled the festival because of the homework she didn't do. Gojo goes there to try and help and discovers she's actually a magazine cover girl, an elite amateur model. He almost doesn't recognize her with that professional artist makeup she used. Then she explains she does shoots just to save up cash and buy that top-of-the-line camera. The two, to relax, put on a horror movie. But Gojo just wants to analyze the monster's costume, while Marin trembles in fear, clinging to his arm. Gojo rewinds to see every detail, and she can't even look at the screen, but ends up finishing all the piled-up homework. Turns out she forgot the exercises at school, and they both need to stop by campus. On the way back, they go by the pool, and Gojo invites her to dinner at his house. Marin gets all excited to escape the frozen cup of noodles she usually eats alone. Except right there, by the pool, she slips and falls straight into the deep water. Gojo realizes she can't swim and jumps in to save her with a heroic rescue. They end up soaked, and she confesses she loves the sea even though it's a danger for her since she can't swim. She explains that on trips, she just stays there eating and looking at the sunlight sparkling on the water. Gojo says he understands that feeling, comparing it to his love for Hina dolls. Inspired, she promises to finish her studies if he goes with her to another festival at night. Gojo's grandpa is all happy seeing his grandson finally landed a real friendship. At the festival, Gojo is hypnotized when Marin appears twirling in her beautiful, gorgeous yukata. She even jokes, saying he looks like he wants to kiss her neck. Gojo then turns red, confirming the suspicions she had. They go out eating everything at the stalls, from candy apples to piles of heavy food. Gojo confesses it's the first time he's watched the fireworks there in the middle of the crowd. And when the fireworks start bursting, Gojo realizes the sky is wonderful, but Marin is perfect. Much more than those fireworks. She then catches him staring and shows her blue candy tongue, breaking the mood with lots of laughter. After so much time walking, the sandals start hurting her feet, and Gojo has to carry her on his back. And he struggles to stay focused while he feels her presence pressing against his back on the way home. If you catch my drift. At the end of the day, she promises that next year they'll be together again at this same festival. Gojo smiles, realizing this journey with her is just starting to get really good. Already in bed, the phone rings, and it's Marin, terrified of the ghosts from the movie they watched. She begs him to stay on the line talking to her until she can fall into a deep sleep. She then goes on telling her summer adventures, while Gojo's voice gets very soft. He ends up falling asleep first, and she smiles in the dark, hearing her favorite artisans breathing. Feeling a heavy connection, she whispers that she loves him before also falling asleep for good. She sleeps hugging the blanket, as if it were Gojo lying there next to her. Gojo's journey went from an isolated room to the heart of the most incredible girl in school, proving his weird hobbies were the key to finding who he really is. These two's story is far from over, and this summer changed everything for the guy who only saw beauty in dolls, and now sees the whole world in a smile. So if you enjoyed this epic recap, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Comment which anime you want to see here too. And you already know, I'll see you in the next anime. Peace out.